The first thing that I wish I'd have known is that I did not need to write a masterpiece. You know, if you're writing a book, you feel like you may have this pressure upon you that it needs to be a really, really good book for it to even be put on a bookshelf. And, this kind of pressure to create a masterpiece doesn't actually come from our soul itself, because every single soul is a masterpiece in its very own right. We've all been through our own unique challenges, and we've got our own perspective about life. So that makes our book in itself unique in its own way. And when you feel like, I'm talking about myself here, when I was starting my first book, the pressure that I had on myself that it had to be a really good book, and that it was going to be turned into a screenplay, and that people by the millions were going to pick it up around the world. That pressure that I put on myself, that was actually the pressure of thinking that there was critics out there. So I was writing my book, part of it for the critic, where I shouldn't have been writing for the critic. I should have been writing for the one person who's going to pick it up and it's going to change their life. And so even though I did have that part of me that was writing for the one person whose life it would change, the other part of the puzzle was, I hope it's good enough. And that hope that it was good enough, it held me back from producing my book. So once I let go and I realized that beneath the pressure for it to be a masterpiece was some kind of a fear, like the fear of rejection, or the fear that not enough, that kind of fear was stopping the production. And so once you can let go of that and realize the pressure to be a masterpiece comes from a different kind of a fear, then you let that go, and then you can truly write from a place where you're writing from your own soul's freedom and for the person who really will cherish this book. And that changes everything, you know. There's an old saying that says, let the seeds sow where they may. And that means that there's these seeds being scattered throughout the earth. But in certain parts of the earth, it's really going to take to these seeds, and the seeds are going to sprout and create this beautiful life. And that's the same as your book. You're going to spread your book where it may, and those who really need it will pick up the book and it will change their life. The second thing that I wish I'd have known is that I could learn quickly. I took so much time with this book because I didn't know how to do grammar. I didn't know how to where to put the speech bubbles, or a lot of the editing stuff of the book. And what I realized in through the book writing process is that editing comes later. It doesn't come at the beginning. So you don't need to know all of the all of the grammar and pronunciation. That will come later. If you're anything like me, you're starting out at ground zero. And the best thing that you can do right now is to pick up a pen and paper and so start to write and let that writing just lead you along the way. What I found is after 10 to 15 minutes of writing is when the real gold nuggets start to come out. And then you can learn how the structure goes. Right now, I never knew the structure of storytelling before, but now after my time of storytelling, it's become a nice, smooth process for me now, and I can tell the storytelling structure. And that is something so simple to learn. It it can take as long as you like or as quick as you like. And one of the things that changed for me is that I started changing my language about book writing. At first, I was like, it's going to take me so long to learn this storytelling craft. And then I decided to change that language. And so now I say to myself, I'm so good at writing stories. I'm a storytelling coach. My stories are alive and full of power. My stories are changing the lives of people around the world. And I'm so excited to write these stories. And storytelling really is it is a craft, and it's one of the things that have been used throughout many centuries and generations, and even back to the cavemen. You'd have the fire and they'd tell stories and they'd write stories on the stone inside the caves. And if you go down to the cave down near we are here, there'll be some rock drawings, and that's story form. Stories have been around for a long, long time. And if you haven't started your story yet, now is the time to start, because everybody has a story within them and everybody has a right to tell that story. And there's no better way to do that than with writing a book. And if you're ready to write your book, I've got the 50 writing prompts to help you to start so that you don't have to question what you're writing about. And I'll leave that information below where you can get that. And yeah, my key for you today is if you want to become an amazing storyteller, start telling stories. And for a lot of people, that storytelling comes more alive in writing than it does in speaking. So here's a challenge for you to go and write your first story. And even if it's just a paragraph, I did one paragraph story and it was really, really powerful. So are you keen to write a story? The third thing that I'd wish I'd known is that my story did not need to reach everyone. I thought that my story needed to reach the whole entire world, but it doesn't. It needs to reach the people in your world, and you will be known in your world. We've all got these little pockets of the world. So if you think about life in itself, we've got the life where there's a group and they love gardening. So that group is over here of gardeners, and then we've got another group and it's mums who do homeschooling. So you've got all these mums who do homeschooling, and then you've got another group over here who loves politics. They love how the world is governed. And so that's another group. And then you've got another group over here who's full of faith. So they relate to God in their own kind of faith way. And you've got all these pockets throughout the world, and you'll be known in your pocket of the world, whatever that is for you. So you don't need to reach the whole multitudes. All you need to do is reach your little pocket of the world, and you'll be known in that area of your pocket of the world. So if you don't know how to choose who you are in your world, you can ask yourself today, what really lights my soul on fire? What do I want to write about right now? And then when you get your pen and paper and you start writing from that place of what do you want to speak about, then the magic will come out as you start to write. And I want to encourage you today that if you don't know what you want to write about, just start writing. And I can guarantee you this because I've had it in my own life and I've had other authors who've told me as well that after 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, that's when it clicks and that's when it comes to pass, because there's something really powerful about putting pen to paper. It's like it creates an opening that your expressive self can come out. And it's so good for your own mental well-being and for your body that when you're letting out um, all the stuff that you want to share, then that makes space for new stuff. So then the new stuff will come through and it will come out as well. And you will create this beautiful masterpiece because it will be what you've put your effort into. And then at a later stage, after you've got it all out onto your pen and paper, then you can go and you can fine tweak it and turn it into something that the world will read. So that very first draft that you start to write is really about getting it out of you and expressing, and that will allow new room for some new stuff to come, whether that's new learnings or it's new courage or it's new confidence. You've got to get the old out first onto the pen and paper, and then you make space for the new. And whatever you get out that's old onto the paper, that's what's going to teach somebody else, because there's always somebody learning that's coming after you. And what you get to share will help them. And then you'll have this new learning within yourself, a new boldness. And then you write that down. And then that's how we keep growing through life. It's by taking out the old, sharing what we've learned, and then we get a new learning. So you won't get that new learning until you've released the old one. So I found writing to be very, very powerful for that. And that's one of the reasons why I started the 5-Day Book Starter, is to get people to express themselves and release the old so they can bring in the new. And if you found this video useful, this channel is about helping women and anybody who wants to write books to write their first book. And welcome to this channel, and I will see you